Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Four Intimacies podcast, where we discuss connection, trust, and, well, intimacy. Before we start, I want to acknowledge that this has been some rough few weeks, months. There's a whole timeline we can go into. And what's been helping me through has actually been doing this podcast and talking about intimacy, because I find that it actually applies to community. And that's what we really need right now. And I really appreciate Minnesota for being an example for us, even though it's a painful example of what it means to foster connection and be within trust and stand your ground from your own truth because you trust yourself and you believe yourself. And these are the kind of things and practices I want us to do on the interpersonal level. I was going to talk about this on the larger community and even global level, but the focus of this right now is just one-on-one. I want to see how this feels for you and with the people you are closest with. So with that, I'm also going to warn you that this episode might be delayed, or maybe the next episode. I'm a writer on the side of this, and I have a big writing deadline coming up, which I'm very excited for. I'm hoping it shouldn't delay this, but we will still get one episode per week, so be patient with me as we start all this. Let's dive in. Okay. Up until now, we have done 3 attraction intimacy pairs. Intellectual, with the keyword curiosity; emotional, with the keyword honesty; physical, with the keyword playfulness. And we even discussed how best friends have the healthy versions of all of these all at once. So healthy curiosity, healthy honesty, healthy playfulness. One of the most fun things I find about the 4 intimacies. Also, last week we explored physical attraction and intimacy with the idea of consent and how it differs from sexual attraction or intimacy. But did I really differentiate them? I just told you not to confuse them. Let's try to nail it down. Sexual attraction. It was really hard to come up with a definition for this attraction because it can be so tied to physicality, typically associated with men, or emotional connection, typically associated with women. Before I get into the definition, I want to be clear, both men and women can move from physicality to sexuality, or from emotionality to sexuality, and even intellectual attraction to sexual attraction. There really isn't an order for this for anyone. We might have our defaults, but it really can happen in any direction or flow. There can be some societal gender roles at play, and how they intersect with sexual orientation shows up for us in so many different ways. So, for example, in discussing this with some women, they have immediately said, men have no idea there's a difference between physical and sexual attraction. But there have been other women who have said, wait, there's a difference between physical and sexual attraction? Honestly, I think men know the difference. I think how they go through puberty kind of makes it really stark and clear. They just don't act on it, often or by default. And women say they need an emotional connection. And while that might be the default, that is also not always true. We are all clearly able to feel the desire, and it doesn't always come in neat packages. And when it doesn't, that's fun. At least I think so. What do you think? Okay. But let me give you my working definition of sexual attraction. Sexual attraction is the desire to be deeply touched or touch deeply. This definition is as close as I could get. From the few people I've discussed this with, this seems to resonate. I would love to know how it resonates with you. But is it really separate from physical attraction? Is it really different from emotional attraction? I'm going to say yes, hence the 4 intimacies. They can be connected. They are often connected. But if you have ever had the experience of being sexually attracted to someone who you had no physical attraction to, no emotional attraction, and even nothing in common to spike an intellectual attraction, then you know what I mean. If you haven't experienced this, well, all I can say is you're missing out. It is rather clarifying. I can't say it's always fun. It can be. It can also be disconcerting, confusing, even when it is clearly happening. It does not mean you must or should act on it, but you have the choice. And depending on whether they are open to it or not, whether you want to go there or not, that is your choice to make. Notice how I brought in consent there, right? Sexual attraction is powerful, beautiful, amazing. It can be an awakening. You might discover things about yourself you were not aware of or fully aware of, like where you are on the spectrum of sexual orientation, how gender roles flow for you, how physical spaces affect you, what music affects you, how scents affect you. I'm barely touching the surface of all that could be conjured through this sexual awakening. I'm sure you all have your own versions of this. At least I hope you do. I will say, in my experience, this can be an awakening that is always in flow, developing, shifting, changing with experience, partners, just being alive in this world, experiencing things like media and fashion and travel. There's so many, I'm trying to think of all the ways I've known people to update their own ideas of what is attractive and specifically sexually attractive to them. The world is an exciting, thrilling, beautiful, boundary-pressing adventure if you want it. With all of that, you really can't be told what sexual attraction feels like if you've never felt it, because the way it feels for you is yours. This is private, in my opinion. Cherish it. It is yours. Own it. It is yours. Okay. Sexual intimacy? You ready for the question? When we are naked, can we be curious, honest, and playful? Okay, I might have lied earlier, but this might be my favorite intimacy. Maybe they all are, but I do love the way this intimacy ties all the intimacies together, as if every relationship is preparing you for your own sexual awakening, discoveries, experiences. Your sexuality is an extension of who you are and all you have experienced. And this might be a controversial statement. Come at me, let me know how you feel. I do want to say, in perhaps the American puritanical circle, sexuality is set apart from the rest of your life. It is quarantined and labeled dangerous and forbidden, especially for women. We are taught to fear sexual intimacy, guard ourselves from it, and be warriors against it, instead of taught how to be empowered by and curators of our sexuality, how to be curious, honest, and playful with our sexuality. Hearing about women who have never seen their own genitalia, have no idea how to reach orgasm, is a sign of how our societal norms have failed, belittled, discarded, quarantined, and scolded women for being exactly who they are, human and sexual beings. Men have also been done a disservice where performance is venerated over connection, where for so many men, intimacy is only ever found in sexuality. So it is so hard to admit or be comfortable with any non-sexual intimacy when it comes to just friends, because that doesn't exist. How stifled and shattered that need for connection can be if that is a belief they have when they are also just human. Let alone all the ways many societies label only certain expression of sexual intimacy as valid. What this does for people who are flowing on the wide and beautiful spectrum of sexual orientation and gender expression is cruel. Just cruel. Luckily, we live in a time where there is more freedom, at least compared to when I was younger, but only just. Only just. And that is such a shame, and that is so dangerous, because all we are is human. And just like all the other intimacies, sexual intimacy is our birthright. Your sexuality is yours. It is beautiful, expressive, and has a right to shine. We get to shine. Or if you want to do that in private, sure, how you choose to express it in private in the world is yours. In all honesty, I have a few friends that if they found out I was doing a podcast about sex, they would say, Zoe? Really? I am pretty private about these things, and honestly, right now, I'm very glad the podcast is quite small, but this topic feels different. Our bodies are amazing. I want you to be empowered. I want us to be empowered. I don't want sexual intimacy to make you feel uncomfortable, vulnerable, or afraid. It can be amazing, transcendent, and freeing. We get to feel like superheroes if you're doing it well, right. Well, our bodies are amazing. When you get to share that with someone and they get to share their body with you, it is a mind-blowing, beautiful, transcendent, and awkward, weird, crazy experience. And I'm using all the same words, but you feel me, right? It is all of that, all at the same time. You need curiosity to navigate the awkward to the mind-blowing. You need honesty to continue through the weird to the beautiful. You need playfulness to translate the crazy to the transcendent. Am I putting a judgment on what counts as good sex? Maybe, in the sense that if your sexual experience feels difficult, chore-like, uncomfortable, even painful, you really owe yourself the chance to explore what is happening for you in your body. But not with judgment, with curiosity. There are so many ways your body needs to be heard and acknowledged. There could be layers of protection happening for all kinds of reasons, or something more biochemical, and then there is a whole interplay between the two. I like therapy as a start to explore what this means for you, but there are other options out there, all kinds of therapies, books, tools. And just a note on asexuality. I don't have much experience there, so that is really for someone more qualified experience to talk about. But I want to leave this open as not excluding them, but including them differently, as the curiosity, honesty, and playfulness with someone is still an experience open to them without sexual activity. We are all who we are and where we are. Okay. Do you remember when I talked about the intellectual, emotional, and physical intimacies, and then we had those journal prompts at the end, where I asked you to feel the answers in your body? It is all tied together. This body awareness, this ability to feel your feels, feel the attraction, the emotion, the connection, and share it with another. It's what we are built for. And just like the other intimacies, the healthy version of sexual intimacy helps you build trust with your partner in your relationship and in yourself. When we trust ourselves, when curiosity, honesty, and playfulness are present, consent is easy. It's as simple as, is this okay? Or, I want to try something different. How does this feel? To get a little personal, and again, very glad this podcast is small. This idea of consent for me was not something that I learned from a book or even therapy, but I learned it from a man. Now, especially in the writing word, for example, of which I'm a bit familiar, there is the idea that women write consent really well and often, especially in the romantic work, and especially compared to men. And this is true, but it slightly gives the idea that men are not looking for consent. And while there are all kinds of generalizations to be made and all kinds of accurate and insightful commentary on society and patriarchy to be explored, for me, it was a man that taught me about consent during sex. At first, I thought he was talking too much. Like, what is he saying? I need to focus. Stop talking. But quickly enough, it didn't take much time, admittedly. I realized not only did I like his talk, but it really gave me permission to do the same. There was this give and take of what was working and what was not working. It was not constant like a narration, God, no. But it was this checking in and switching up, which made it feel like we were really paying attention to each other. And the goal was that we were both having fun. It required a lot of eye contact and body awareness. It required a lot of curiosity, honesty, and playfulness. And as soon as it became our default, it was freeing. For each of us, this lesson or lessons will be different. I do wish I knew this beforehand. Like, what took me so long to know or to realize that my sexuality could be experienced this way? That's why I developed this framework. This experience did a lot to help me weave the Four Intimacies framework together. So this is not a man-bashing space or a woman-blaming space. We are all here learning so freaking much about ourselves and each other. Let's meet each other as individuals we are. Before we end, I do want to make one thing clear. There is a reason why I separate out sexual intimacy. Just because you have a healthy intellectual, emotional, and physical intimacy, that does not mean you must have a sexual intimacy. And vice versa. Just because you have a healthy sexual intimacy, that does not mean you have a healthy intellectual, emotional, or physical intimacy. Sexual attraction and intimacy are separate, related but separate. Own that. Your sexuality and your sexual intimacy is yours to share or not. It is theirs to share or not. Listen, ask, affirm in all the intimacies. Accept the intimacy level you're at. You might want it to be different. Then you have a choice to make. How do you want to act, to be, to show up? These are your choices. The only choice you don't have is you cannot make a choice for them. I do hope they are also interested in the answers to these questions. If they are not, that is very good information for you. If they are, wow, begin exploring, like right now. It might get bumpy. Again, perfectionism and sailing are not the goals. How you ride out the discomfort, the conflict, the unease is the foundation of a healthy intimacy. Because I'm going to keep saying this. They are exactly who they are. Believe them. You are wholly and completely you, my dear. Trust yourself. And that means you are different people. How you meet that difference is everything. Guys, I hope this is not entirely new to you, but if it is, I hope it is useful. You get a chance to experiment with sexuality with someone you trust. Being seen, heard, held, and known while utterly naked is a gorgeous way to build trust in the relationship and with yourself. Sexual intimacy can be incredibly healing, even without the other three intimacies. You didn't expect me to say that, did you? Maybe because I'm a woman. But this goes to my final idea, or to me repeating this idea. There are no hierarchies to the intimacy. You do not need one before the other. Each intimacy is a great way to begin or strengthen a relationship. I do think all four is a marker of a true romantic love match, but in your relationship, you will knit the intimacies together in your own way on your own time. It's all good, guys. Let's start with the journal prompts. Again, write in a journal, do a voice journal, meditate, discuss, however you want to go about these. These are the journal questions for sexual attraction and intimacy. Question number 1. Of all the keywords, between curiosity, honesty, and playfulness, which ones have been the easiest for you when it comes to sexual intimacy? How does it feel in your body when it is easy? Question number 2. Which of the keywords have been the hardest for you when it comes to sexual intimacy? How does it feel in your body when it is difficult? What do you think you need for it to become easier? Question number 3. Do you have a memory of when either curiosity, honesty, or playfulness first became easy during sexual intimacy? How did that feel in your body? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about them? Question number 5. I think question number 5. Anyway, do you trust yourself when it comes to sexual intimacy? Where don't you trust yourself? Do you know why? Where do you trust yourself? Do you know why? Question number 6. I think I got the numbers wrong. Anyway, do you trust your partner to be curious, honest, and playful during sex? Can you be curious, honest, and playful during sex? Do you know why either of you can do all three or not? And the last question, whatever the number is, how does it feel to come up with a plan or a date around this idea of curiosity, honesty, and playfulness? What would your ideal version of this be? Maybe it's spontaneous. Okay. Phew, we've made it through. All 4 intimacies are out there. Next week, we're going to level up the 4 intimacies and talk about intimacy with yourself. So until then, stay curious, honest, and playful, my dears. Hi, if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. I am Zoë Malcolm, and this is the 4 Intimacies experiment, which I really hope will be a conversation for all of us. If this resonates with you at all, feel free to like, follow, or subscribe to the podcast. We are on YouTube, on the 4 Intimacies channel, or wherever you can listen to your podcast. You can follow on Instagram at the 4 Intimacies or email me using the4intimacies@gmail.com. That's a lot of ads. But if you know someone who this might resonate with or with whom you want to talk about this, please do share. Let's be curious, honest, and playful together.